Today we're going to make this fall wreath using all Dollar Tree items. Welcome to Stillwater's Wreath Designs. Come on in. Today we're going to make a super cute fall, Halloween, a little bit in the middle, so we'll call it Falloween wreath using primarily all Dollar Tree items. Friends, if you are new to the channel, welcome, welcome. We're so happy to have you. We have new wreath and door swag tutorials uploading every single week. So if you love to create, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and join us. And for all of my friends that have been here for a while, welcome back. We're going to make our Deco Mesh wreath on a 14-inch Dollar Tree wire frame. For those of you that are new to wreath making, let's have a little bit of Wreath 101. So this is a wire wreath frame. It comes in a variety of different sizes. We nearly always will use on this channel the 14-inch. Again, it came from Dollar Tree. And as you can see, it's flat on the back, so it can rest nicely against your door. And then the top side has a bit of a bevel. There are 4 rings that go around the wire frame. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There are 6 crossbars for stability all the way around the frame. And then the space between each crossbar is what we consider a section. And there are 6 sections across this frame. So let me show you what we're going to use today. I've got 6 rolls of the 6-inch Deco Mesh from Dollar Tree. So I've got 2 of each of these colors. It's a brown and tan stripe, a pretty sage green with some gold ribbon throughout, and a pretty pumpkin orange. You're also going to need lots of 6-inch zip ties. You can also use pipe cleaners if you prefer. I will leave a full materials list for you below in the description of this video so that you can recreate this if you'd like to do so. And if you'd rather not create this and you would just like to purchase this wreath, I'll leave a link for you to do so below. All right, friends, today we are going to make what's called a Deco Mesh Bubble Wreath. You're also going to need a standard ruler. Again, you're going to need 2 rolls of the orange, 2 rolls of the brown and tan, and 2 rolls of the sage green. And here's what we're going to do, guys. This is going to seem a little strange, so work with me. First of all, if you are new to Deco Mesh loves to fray, and it loves to grab a hold of itself. And the bubble method is a really great method to not completely eliminate the fray, but basically, because there's very few cuts on this Deco Mesh, therefore very few raw edges. And if you've heard me say before, if you're not new to the channel, I'm going to be transparent with you and tell you I don't generally like to work with the Dollar Tree Deco Mesh. It's just a little bit too see-through for my liking, generally speaking, and frays more than usual. However, the only exception to my rule is for this particular method, known as the bubble method. And this is just a recipe, guys. You can sure recreate this as you would like to do so. What we're going to do here, this is going to seem strange, is layer our 3 different colors of Deco Mesh right on top of one another. And it doesn't matter what order you put these in because we're going to be separating them out later and there won't really be any rhyme or reason. So as you can see, I've taken all 3 of my colors. They're laid nicely on top of one another. And now what I'm going to do at the edge here, I'm going to take my fingers and scrunch and gather this mesh back into my fingers, and so it's nicely gathered, and I've got a little inch or so tail. I'm going to cut off these scragglies, and I'm going to take my 6-inch zip tie, and again, if you prefer, feel free to use pipe cleaners, and we're going to start at any crossbar on the frame, friends. At this point, we don't have a top or bottom, so it doesn't matter which crossbar you start at, just any crossbar. And for this wreath, we're only going to be using the inner 2 metal rings. So we won't use the 2 outsides, just these 2 middle 2. We're going to take this tail of deco mesh and place it on our crossbar so that it overlaps one side by a solid inch or so. And then we're going to take our tie and we're going to come beneath this crossbar. And then I'm going to take that zip tie and I'm going to cinch that guy down tight, 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 because this is what we're using to anchor down our mesh. So let me flip that over. You can see that I kind of went catty corner over this crossbar to make sure it doesn't slide around. You'll also need a small pair of snips or a really good pair of scissors so that you can cut off your excess bits of zip tie or pipe cleaners as we go. And I'm going to try to keep, a good 10 inches or so of the mesh rolled out at all times. And so now what we're going to do is have a pile of zip ties or pipe cleaners within arm's reach here, which, by the way, if you do use pipe cleaners, go ahead and cut those guys in half. You don't need the full length, and you might as well, to get the most money out of your product. And our bubbles are going to be 8 inches in length. So what we're going to do is take our ruler, lay it down where we've anchored it, identify that 8-inch mark, and friends, nobody's looking for perfection here. No one's going to measure your bubbles. Once you've identified that 8-inch mark, you're going to scrunch and gather just like we did before. And you'll have to continually roll out your mesh here so that you've got some wiggle room. We're going to come back to the frame and create our first bubble. So I'm going to place it between those 2 middle rings. I'm going to take my zip tie or my chenille stem and run it underneath those 2 rings. And then I'm going to cinch this guy down nearly as tight as I can with just a hair of wiggle room, because before I cinch down my bubble, I need to scoot it all the way over to the left where we anchored it. So I'm just going to push that guy over as far as it'll go and then finish cinching down that zip tie. And I'm going to trim off that excess bit. So we've just added our very first bubble. And again, it's placed between those 2 center rings, and then our zip tie is wrapped around those 2 center rings to anchor that guy down. And we're going to add 7 bubbles per section. So what we'll do for this video, friends, we're going to go ahead and complete the first section together, and then we'll speed ahead. So again, place your ruler on top of your zip tie or pipe cleaner, identify that 8-inch mark, scrunch and gather your mesh together, unroll your rolls of mesh a little bit to give you some wiggle room. Come onto your frame, and we're going to take our pipe cleaner and run it underneath rings 2 and 3, those 2 middle rings. We're going to cinch it nearly all the way down, scooch that guy all the way over, and then finish zipping it down. And we'll trim off our excess bit of zip tie. Maybe, here we go. So we've added our first 2 bubbles. Let's move on to the third. All right, we've just added our first 7 deco mesh bubbles into our first section. Your wreath should look something like this. If you notice it's tightly scrunched together at one spot and looser at the other, you can certainly slide them around so that they're equally spaced within that section. And what we're going to do at this point is basically repeat the same pattern all the way around our wreath frame. Now, approximately halfway around, you are going to run out of mesh and need to start a new roll. Just anchor it down just like we did when we started, friends, and continue on with your bubbles. All right, let's get our wreath full of our Deco Mesh bubbles, and I'll meet you back here. All right, I've got my bubble wreath totally filled in, and I added 7 bubbles to every single section. However, friends, and this is not uncommon with Dollar Tree mesh, in my very last section, I've only got 5 bubbles because the mesh ran short. So if that happens to you also, it's no big deal. That's just where we will add our bow to help fill in and hide the fact that we're short a couple of bubbles. So this is what your wreath should look like on the front, and then on the back, it's pretty clean. It should look something like this. And our next step is to spread our Deco Mesh bubbles. And so right now we have layered them one on top of another while we were adding them into our wreath. And so now you're just going to work your way around your wreath bubble by bubble and just kind of pull those mesh layers apart. And there's no rhyme or reason to how you do this. It just helps it fill out a little bit more, helps those colors to all shine. And so as you can see, I'm just separating bubble by bubble. And if I pull my orange to the outside on one bubble, then the next one I try to pull it on the inside, and vice versa. I just basically don't want all of my colors following the same pattern. So take a couple of minutes and pull your Deco Mesh bubbles, layers apart a little bit, and then I'll meet you back here. I've just finished separating out all of my Deco Mesh bubbles, and how stinking cute is this? I'm hoping the camera can capture that for you. You definitely see all of the colors peeking through, that browns, orange, and sage green, and yet they all somehow just blend nicely together. Super stinking cute. And so now that we've added our Deco Mesh bubbles, our 14-inch frame is now a 20-inch in diameter wreath. So it's definitely giving it lots of great coverage. So go ahead and plug in your hot glue gun while I grab some ribbon and embellishments. So I grabbed this orange 2.5-inch velvet wired ribbon from the Dollar Tree. It's only 36 inches in length. It's just going to make a bow for us that has 2 loops and 2 tails. And let me show you an easy way to make a quick bow. What we're going to do to make a super quick and easy bow out of a 36-inch piece is take our ribbon and shape it into an awareness bow. And the important thing here, friends, is that your tails are essentially the same length from that center point and that the pretty side is facing forward. And then you've got the awareness piece here. And all you do is pinch that guy down into your hand and scrunch it together. And you've immediately just created a super quick and simple bow. I'm going to do the exact same thing with my scrap piece of 1.5-inch black and white striped. So making that awareness ribbon just like we did before. And I'm layering one right on top of the other. My tails are essentially the same length. I'm just going to pinch that together like so. And then I'm going to take my pipe cleaner and wrap that guy right around there and give it 2 or 3 tight twists. And don't worry if your bow gets a little lopsided, guys. This is wired ribbon, so we can reshape it once we're ready to do so. So essentially in total, we've got 4 loops and 4 tails. And remember, I was short a few bubbles, so I'm going to flip it over and just basically see where I have less of my zip ties. That will be right here because I want to add that bow into that section to help hide that fact. So I'm just going to run that pipe cleaner right through my wreath frame, and I'm going to make sure that that pipe cleaner is wrapped around those middle 2 rings. That'll keep it from sliding. I'm going to make sure it's still where I want it. You don't want it to sink too far down into your wreath. Once I know I'm happy with that placement, I'll give it a couple of more twists, and then I'm going to take my snips and just trim off that excess bit. Pipe cleaner, since we're finished, and tuck that little tail right out of the way, just like so. And I'm just making sure my tails are going the right direction, friends, but I'm not going to trim them or give them that final fluff until the very end. All right, and then for some embellishments, we're going to add in these glittery, sparkly leaves in shades of reds and oranges and yellow. They actually came from Walmart, and it's called the oak leaf bush, and it was only a couple of dollars. I'm going to place one cute little stem behind each side of the bow. So I've left about 1.5 inches of stem. I'm going to run a bead of hot glue on that to make sure that guy doesn't go anywhere. I'm going to move my loops a little bit and tuck our cute little leaves in. And we'll do the exact same thing on the other side. And I think I'm going to take 2 more of the picks here that have a little bit fewer of the leaves. And we're going to add those on this side as well, about 2 inches apart from where we added the first bunch. Just running a bead of glue on that stem, about 1 inch worth. And sliding that guy right down in there, just like so. How stinking cute is that? So I've got 1 more stem left on my bush. We might as well use that. And we'll just glue them down in. So we've got it full of leaves at the top, and we did a slow fade towards the bottom. The last thing I want to do is just curl my tails a little bit. This is just a 1 inch in diameter old tube I had from some DECO mesh that I keep in my toolbox. It's great for curling ribbon. You just wrap that right around that guy and curl it as tightly or as loosely as you would like. I think I'll angle cut this orange felt. You could also dovetail if that's your preference. And that is all there is to it, friends. We have finished this super cute, super simple Dollar Tree wreath. And depending on the embellishments that you add into this wreath, it's just going to cost you $10 to $15. I hope you enjoyed it creating with me today. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my little channel to grow. And if you're new here, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and create with us every week. Thanks, friends. Happy crafting.